Hey, welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be all of the eyeshadow palettes that I purchased in 2021, and I'm going to be ranking my top 10 for you all. So I hope that sounds interesting. We have quite a few to get through, so I'm going to try to make this really quick for you. I've got them all kind of sitting over here, ready to talk about and share my thoughts with you. There's quite a few that I still haven't tried yet. Out of the 41 that I've purchased, I think there's like 10 that I still haven't tried, which is bananas, or haven't tried enough to give a full opinion on. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. I'm sharing the eyeshadow palettes that I purchased in 2021, ranking the top 10. I hope that sounds interesting. If it does, please be sure to stick around. But if you're just now making it over to my channel and you're not already subscribed, please be sure to tap that subscribe button, ring that notification bell while you're watching so you don't miss future uploads. Let's get into these palettes. Okay, so let's kick it off with the palettes that I have not tried yet, or I haven't tried enough to give you all like my full thoughts and opinions on. This one might be a little bit shocking to you all. If you are like heavily into the beauty space, then you've heard quite a few people talk about this specific palette, and that's why I bought this palette, because lots of people were raving about it, and it reminded me of a melt palette that is no longer available. I'm talking about the Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. Now, this is such a beautiful color story. I mean, look at this color story. It looks like I always forget, the Muerte? I don't remember, don't come for me. But it reminded me of that melt palette because it's got the sea green, the red, the dark blue. It just had that vibe going on, and everybody else said the same thing, and it had me wanting it pretty bad, so I bought it. Haven't used it. I've had this probably at least a few months, like 3 months. There she sits. 3 months, that might be a stretch, but regardless, haven't used it yet. It's shameful. It's got some really gorgeous shimmers in here. Like, look at those. Like, they're beautiful. They remind me a lot of, like, the Glam Light shimmers, how they're a little bit, I don't know how to explain it. Not putty-like, but pliable, mushy. I don't know. They're beautiful nonetheless. I just can't give you an opinion because I haven't used it yet. Next up is a palette that I was really excited to get. I've played with this one time, like just messing around to see what the pigmentation was like. And so far, it seems like it's very promising, but I haven't played with it enough to be able to give a full opinion. This is the Blend Bunny Surge palette. And Blend Bunny is like a brand that's kind of coming out of left field, right? And I think they're about to come out with their third palette, which I really want. I don't know what it is here lately, but I've been really into neutrals. Not that you'd be able to tell by this palette, but I am. And this one is stunning though. Not neutral, it's very colorful, but it's stunning. There's a particular shimmer shade in here. This one here, actually both of these here. Like, what? Look how beautiful. But this one ain't about the shimmer shades. It's the mattes in here that are stunning, that are, I don't know. I'm excited to play with it. And like I said, I have a little bit off camera. I've kind of dibble-dabbled a little bit, created a couple of eye looks just messing around, but not enough to really form a complete opinion. So that's why I'm not ranking this one. And that's why I'm putting it in this kind of like haven't really used enough portion. Next up is the Perception palette from Midas Cosmetics. This is their collaboration with the Basic Bee. And I only used one shade out of this palette. Oh God, it's really blown out. No, I'm gonna have to like turn the lights down or something. I just realized how blown out these shades look. Shit. Okay, I know I look a little dark and spooky, okay, but I just realized the colors were looking really blown out. So this next palette is from Midas Cosmetics. It's their collaboration with the Basic Bee. It's their Perception palette. And I bought this because some of the shades in here were just really screaming out to me. Like this really beautiful bright corally shade. It's just gorgeous. I used that one in an eye look. And I had a sparkly like orangey shade over top of it, and I got so much and some green shadow stamped on the lower lash line, and I got so much positive feedback on that look. I was honestly surprised. But that's the only time I've used this palette. Other than that, I don't know how the rest of the shadows work. I don't know how the shimmers work. I don't know how the rest of them work. So I can't really rank it. But so far, a positive experience. But there's a lot more than one shadow in that palette, so I don't want to give full thoughts on that yet. Now, this next palette is so bizarre to me. I purchased this because so many of my creator friends were so excited about this palette. Even when they got it, they were really excited about it. I was a little butthurt because it took about 3 months to get to me when I thought it was going to take like a month. But regardless of that, okay, we were in a pandemic. I get it. Or are in a pandemic. I understand. I'm me sometimes, okay, and I'm impatient. But anyhow, that's not why I'm put off by this. Let me show you if I can. This is the Clarity Cosmetics So Mermazing palette. And I bought this mainly because of the beautiful shimmer shades. Like, when you see these shades online or other creators using them, oh god, they're so stunning and beautiful and shiny and shifty. But now, and I haven't even used this yet. I don't know why, I just wasn't enticed when I got it. The shimmer shades in here are super powdery. Like, they're shiny, don't get me wrong, but they're falling apart in the pan. So much so that the pink shade in the corner is nothing but a pile of dust. I don't even want to lift it up because I'm afraid it might fall. The last time I opened this palette, this was literally just a pan with shimmery dust in it. It's not even an actual shadow anymore. It's loose dust. Can y'all see that? I'm afraid it's going to fall over the floor. I had to mush it back in there. Like, beautiful nonetheless, like when you look at it, but they're also very powdery. It's like there's no binder in them or something. It's really bizarre. Like, beautiful. Look how pretty. But they're so mother effing powdery. So anyway, I haven't used it. I'm just not really dying to use it because of that. Maybe I should and just declutter it real quick before it becomes a bigger mess, because I feel like the rest of those shimmery shades are going to do the same thing that that pink shade did. And they're going to be powder. Nothing but powder. Next up is the Laura Lee Los Angeles Nudie Patootie palette. I purchased this because I was making another purchase off of their site for the Candy Skies palette. And I just felt like I needed to try something else because I hadn't tried anything from them at that point. And this is a very basic, neutral eyeshadow palette. And maybe that's why I never used it. Well, I used it once, sorry. I used it one time to work. It was okay. It was nothing mind-boggling, like nothing that made me feel like I needed to try it again right away. But it's not terrible or anything like that. But again, one eye look is really not enough to give you all like full opinions and thoughts about it. So that's why I'm including it in this section. Next up, you all might be pretty surprised to hear that I haven't used the Adept Cosmetics Codan palette, or Codan. I think it's Codan. I don't know what it is about this one, but this one just doesn't entice me like the first two, the Plain Jane and the Ninhydrin. It doesn't look bad. They still have beautiful shadows in here. I don't know. Maybe it's the color story of this one that just throws me off. I don't know. Or it could be that I bought 41 eyeshadow palettes and maybe I just didn't have time to use every single one of them. That's probably the more likely excuse. Anyhow, that's why I'm including it in this section, because I never used it. Another Virgin palette, the Wine palette from Glamlight. This was one that I thought I was going to be head over heels for when I got it. And then I got it and I looked at it and I'm like, it's not that I don't like the colors in it, but when I think about it in terms of practicality and how I would create an eye look with these shades, I would have a really rough time with depth. I like to really deepen up and give depth to an eye look, kind of like I have done with this one. I like to really pack on that deeper shade in the outer corner and really build like gradually lighter to the front. And when I look at this palette, the deepest shade is this one here, or this one. And neither one is really deep. I mean, this is pretty deep. But when you look at the other tones, like, I don't know. It's just something about it. I'm not too overly thrilled about using it. So I've thought about selling this one instead of just decluttering it or throwing. I don't want to just throw it away. That's such a waste of money. But yeah, ain't used it. Another palette that I didn't use because I swatched it and I was immediately put off is the Lavender Breeze palette from Catrice. I don't know why I bought this, and I'm not being snobby, okay? Yeah, I am a little snobby when it comes to my eyeshadow palettes. But I was on the Catrice website, I was purchasing their new foundation and concealer, and something told me, you just should do like a whole Catrice, dedicated to Catrice video. That was my thought process. So that's why I purchased this. Do y'all see the color story? This has got to be one of the most boring color stories. Like the whole top row, except for this shade here, looks the same. Does it not? What? I don't know. I don't know, but I swatched it and it's just nothing. Like that's one of the shimmer shades. It don't look terrible on camera, but there's just not a lot of pigment to them. They're pretty muted. Some of them are a little hard pressed. Yeah, I'm not interested in using that one. Actually, I had tossed it in my declutter pile, but I wanted to share it with you all in this video. Next up is the Natasha Denona Sunset Palette. If you all have been a part of this community for a little while, then you know that I love me some Natasha Denona. And they were having a huge sale on her palettes. Was it on Sephora? Is that where I think that's where I purchased this, was on Sephora. They were like half off. You can't freaking beat that. I paid $65 for this. This palette's normally $129. So yeah, I bought it. It's Natasha Denona. I've only used it once, and I think the only shade I used was this peach shade on the end here. I'm more of like a mix and match type of gal. I really don't get an entire eye look from one palette. I like to pull from different palettes. So that's why I love specific brands, because I'll incorporate those with other shadows, other palettes. Anyhow, that's kind of what I've done with this one so far. I haven't actually gotten enough use out of it to form a full opinion, but I don't regret picking it up. Love me some Natasha. Couple more palettes I haven't used yet. This is, or only used like once, the Melt Cosmetics 420. Y'all, I'm scared of this one. Straight up, I'm just scared of it. It is gorgeous. The shades in here are right up my alley. I think they are so beautiful, but I'm scared. So many people shit talk this palette and talk about how terrible the quality is that I've been afraid to play with it. I've played with it, I think just one time, like just messing around. And I didn't really have like anything really great or negative to say about it. I'm trying to remember the eye look I created and I can't, so that might speak for itself. But I definitely need to get some more use out of this one. I love the color story. I'm just scared of it. I'm a little bitch. I made an order on Beauty Bay during their Black Friday sale. And I picked up several palettes, and the Cash Beauty Secret Treasures was one of them. Why is beyond me. Maybe because I just wanted to try Cash Beauty. I don't know the thought process there. It's a very basic neutral palette. It's beautiful. But when I swatch the mattes, see, I'm gonna make a liar out of me. They actually look really beautiful now. I don't know. The shimmers are a little bit lackluster for me, just because y'all know I like my shimmer shades. They're not awful, but they're also nothing like fantastic or special. They're a little lackluster, but I do want to get some use out of that one. I wanted to try out the brand. Cash Beauty is owned or created by, what was her name? But anyway, I just wanted to try the brand, so that's that. One more palette that I haven't used. This one is the House Laboratories 4-Way Pay. And I keep telling you all that I'm going to create an eye look with it, and then I'm going to declutter this, because I just think that this palette is just not a good, it's just not good. Like, for one, this shimmery shade up top here, it's just super lackluster. Like, I don't know. It is nothing special. And the shade underneath of it, I don't know what is going on with this formula, but it's super chunky and weird. And it doesn't look awful on camera, but like in person, it's just not good. And then the matte shades are a little bit powdery. It's just a very odd color combo. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, guys, but this is probably going to go in my declutter pile with the Catrice palette, because I'm just not impressed and I don't have any interest in using it. Okay, one more palette that I haven't gotten enough use out of to really give you a full opinion, but I did use it in today's eye look. This is the P. Louise Watch the Queen Conquer palette. This is a mammoth of a palette. Like, do you see how thick this mother is? It is huge. I saw Make Me Up Missa using this palette, and she's just a wizard with eye looks, okay? She can work an eyeshadow brush. She knows what the hell she's doing. She can make just about any eyeshadow work, but she's very good with colorful looks. I love watching her. She's very artistic. Anyhow, This is one side of the palette. It's like a two-sided beast. This mother is huge. And then this is the other side of the palette. Very beautiful. Like, these colors are super saturated, very pigmented. It's the first P. Louise palette that I own. I was really interested in buying it. They had it on sale for the Black Friday sale. That's why I grabbed it. But anyway, for this look that I have on today, I have this shade here called Let's Play. That's like the deepest shade in my crease. And then I also use the shade Champion, which is on the very outer edges. And then the shade that I have kind of marrying those two together is a shade from a separate palette. But anyway, so far, really fantastic quality, super pigmented, very easily blendable. I really like it so far. But again, this is the very first eye look that I've used this palette in, so I couldn't give my full thoughts on it. Okay. Now let's get into palettes that either didn't impress me very much or I just do not like. My hair is getting on my nerves, y'all. It's gonna have to go back. My butt's hungry. I'm sorry. I had to put the hair back. It's getting on my damn nerves. I don't know what it is anymore, but like longer hair, it just irritates the piss out of me. Okay. The first palette that I'm going to share with you, I can make this one work. Like, it's not totally terrible. I can make it work. But there's enough shades in here that are kind of like iffy, that are a little bit sketchy, that I'm including it in the lower portion of this video. This is the Caramel Brown palette from Huda Beauty. And specifically, the shade right here in the middle and this shade up here in the corner, they're just very bad. I don't know how else to put it. They're just not very good. This middle one is so super hard pressed. Like, let me just show you. Like, I am getting in there, like, hard. And that is all I get. That's it. Like, that's it. It's terrible. Awful. Super hard pressed. And the shade up here, this is like some weird ass putty. I don't know what it is, but it's very bizarre. And you don't get a lot of color with it. It's just strange. Other than that, the rest of the shades in here are really beautiful, but it's only a 9-pan palette. So if 2 out of the 9 ain't doing it for me, we got a problem. You know what I mean? So I can't say that I'd like totally regret picking this up because I can make a really beautiful eye look with this. I just wish that those other 2 shades weren't absolute trash. That's all. The next palette that I want to share with you that's I kind of have the same feelings on is the Milk Cosmetics Mary Jane. Now, in theory, this is a stunning palette, right? Like, look at these beautiful shades. They're sparkly. They're very sultry and smoky. Like, just looking at this palette, you would think, oh man, I can create such an amazing eye look with that. And don't get me wrong, I still can, but that's just because I can finagle, okay? But specifically, the shadows on either end, the sparkly ones, this one's called Mary Jane and this one's called Callie. What the hell? Melt, what the hell? They are super just chunky and not in a good way. Like, let me just show you what I mean, okay? Again, I'm just getting in there. I don't know if I can convey to you. Sorry if I'm looking in the monitor. I want to see if you're seeing what I'm seeing. They're more like toppery type of shades. Like, I really dug in there. I don't know. They don't look as terrible right now on camera. But I'm just going to promise you right now they're not good. They're chunky. They're flaky. They're like a little bit sheer. They're starting to become a little hard pressed in certain spots. They're just not very good. Now, as for the rest of the shades in this palette, stunning, beautiful, work amazingly. Like, they blend beautifully together. I don't understand what it is. Like, this shade, fantastic. This one, again, it's a little chunky, but super pigmented. It's beautiful. I don't know what it is about their, like, the lighter shimmer shades that they come out with. They're usually garbage. But other than that, it's a really beautiful palette. I wish they would get their consistency right. I wish they would, I don't know. You never know what you're going to get with your melt palettes. The next palette that I have to share with you that's kind of the same is the Natasha Denona Sendo. I don't know what it is with this one. Like, there's certain shades in here that are really beautiful and work really well. The matte red, the matte peach, the brown shade here, this one up here. Like, certain shades in here are totally fine, everything that you would expect from Natasha Denona. But then you come over here to this sea green called Breath. This one did not work well for me, and maybe it was me, okay? Maybe I wasn't using it right. I don't know, but it was super patchy. It was not good. And then, like, what is this one? Luster? How you gonna call a shade like this luster? See, everything looks better on camera. I promise you, it's nothing to write home about. I don't know. I just had really mixed feelings about this palette. It just wasn't my favorite Natasha Denona palette. However, I don't regret picking it up. And I know that might sound crazy, but I love Natasha Denona in general. And I feel like I still can get enough. Well, I'm questioning myself now. There are some good shades in here too, but I feel like the bad kind of outweighs the good in this one. I can't say I regret it just because I wouldn't have known that had I not bought it and tried it. That sounds so stupid. I don't know. Anyway, that's where I'm ranking it, is towards the lower end. Not that I'm ranking all of these, but that's why I'm including it in the not so hot section. Do I have any more like that? I think it was just those three. The rest are kind of like, okay. Okay, girl. Get it, I guess. Okay, the next palette that I'm going to share with you is one that I don't have a whole lot of negative to say about it. It just isn't a palette that I found myself reaching for because I've got so many eyeshadow palettes. This is the Laura Lee Los Angeles Candy Skies palette. It's her collab with her niece, Erin Weaver. And again, it's a really pretty palette. Like, I don't have a lot of negative to say. I had a really good experience with it when I used it in my video trying it out. It's just not... I would just say it's not so unique to where I feel like I have to have this in my collection. You know what I mean? Like, I don't find myself going, oh, I need to use Candy Skies today. It's just not that type of palette for me. And that's just because I own so many rainbow palettes. And that's what this is. It's a rainbow palette. It's beautiful. It would be really nice to use like as a transition rainbow palette, if that makes sense. Just because it's got some really beautiful, like lighter, colorful shades in here. But it's not a terrible palette. The quality is actually really nice. And it smells like candy, which is just a little added bonus. The next one I'm sharing with you is from Kaleidos. I love the packaging on this one. I've talked about that numerous times over the course of this past year, which is why I kept the packaging. Notice I don't have the packaging for any other palette, just this one. I also like the inside packaging, the fact that the top comes completely off. It's just different. It's innovative. The only palette I have like this. I like the mirror on the front with like the artwork is really beautiful. The inside, I do like this palette, so I don't want to come off like I don't. It's just one of those palettes, again, that I don't find myself reaching for all the time because it's just a different type of color story. It's got pinks and greens, but they are really beautiful nonetheless. Very good quality. I don't regret that I picked this up. It's just not one that I reach for all the time because it's just a very specific color story. I just realized how late it was getting. I need to hurry up and wrap this up. So we're going to speed cruise through the rest of these. I know you guys are so sad to hear that. Next up is the ColourPop High Tide palette. I used this several times. I think it's a really cute palette. One of their little monochromatic 9 pans. Has really nice quality. I have no complaints about it. It's just pretty basic. I mean, there's only going to be so many eye looks you can get with this because the tones are very, very similar. But I think it's beautiful. And yeah, quality's really nice on that one. The next palette that I'm sharing with you is the Give Me Glow from... what? is the Pastel Dreams from Give Me Glow Cosmetics. This one I just had to have. It is their like springtime palette. It looks like Easter in a palette. I really like the shimmers on this one. I have only used the purple matte, so I have no idea how the rest of the mattes work. Actually, I think I've only used the purple shimmer on this one too, but they're really beautiful. They're more duochrome type of shimmers. They shift like gold. I don't have anything negative to say about it. Again, haven't used it enough to really form a complete opinion. I probably should have included this in the other section, but I think it's pretty. I don't regret having it. The next palette that I'm sharing with you is from Juvia's Place, and this is the Mauves. I picked this one up solely because of the shade right here. And it's kind of hard pressed, I'm not going to lie. Like, I really got to get in there. And even then, like, it's just not... I don't know, it's okay. It's nothing super fantastical. that's really all I have to say about it. Like, it's a nice little palette. It's just not a standout for me. It's not one that I would be so devastated if I didn't have it anymore. So that's my thoughts on that. Next up is the Glam Light Red Velvet Cupcake Palette. And again, with their packaging. Oh, I do have more packaging. This is the only other one I have besides Kaleidos. Anyhow, it looks like a little oven. It's the typical Glam Light packaging. On the inside, you got the little cupcake with the sprinkles. I think that's just so cute. Call me childish, if you will, but it's adorable. On the back, it's got I can't talk. It's got little nutrition facts. Like, how cute is that? You can't say it ain't cute. And then on the inside, I'm just a little bit let down with this one because I thought it was going to be a little bit more red, and it's way more like pink and purple toned. The only red we have is right here, and it leans a lot more pink. That's my only real gripe with this palette. Other than that, it applied really nicely. I have no issues with it. It's just not what I thought it was going to be. That's all. Next up is the Natasha Denona Circo Loco palette. And this one, I think it's really, really beautiful. I love the colors in here, but using it as a standalone palette, I just can't. I can't look at this color story and come up with enough different cohesive looks with it. I did a video using this palette and I had a lot of fun doing it, but in terms of like an everyday basis, I just can't. My brain doesn't work that way. As you can see, I'm very much so like matchy-matchy with the type of looks that I do. I can figure out complementary colors, but even still I struggle a little bit. So I don't know. This one's a little tough for me to use, but I like it nonetheless. And I do like using specific colors from it. So definitely don't hate it. Don't regret having it. It's just hard for me to use as a standalone palette because I'm simple. The next one I'm going to share with you is the Glam Light Dirty Martini. I did a dedicated video to this palette. This one's so beautiful. I had a lot of fun using it. Lots of fun colors in here. The shimmers are really stunning. The mattes work beautifully. I don't really have anything negative to say about this one. I really enjoyed this one. I also grabbed the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. This was the year of Natasha Denona, let me tell you. I picked this one up mainly because I did have the, was it Alter Ego or Bad Habit? It was one of those brands. I had like the knockoff version and I really, really loved that one. So I knew if I really loved that version, I would super love the original, and I really do. It's such a great palette. I don't use it a whole hell of a lot just because I have a lot of tones like this already in my collection, but it's Natasha, and I am a completionist, and I like having all the Natasha Denona palettes, even though I don't have all of them. But anyway, I really like her formula, and this is a really beautiful palette, so that's that. Staying on that Natasha Denona trend is the Metropolis palette. I was a very late bloomer with this palette. This one released at least a couple years ago, and I picked it up at the beginning of this year. Don't regret it. It is a stunning palette. I just don't find myself reaching for this one as much as I thought I would, because it's got a lot of tones that I have in other palettes, unfortunately. However, the cream to powder formula in here is what makes it really unique, because there's a lot of those shadows in here. And it is such a good formula. The palette in general is just stunning. So I definitely don't regret having it. I just don't use it as much as I wish that I did. So maybe that's telling me something. I need to use it more, right? Starting to get stuffy. Okay, next up in here is the Milk Cosmetics Amor y Mariposas palette. This is one that I picked up recently. God, this one's heavy. I didn't realize how weighty this one was. Anyhow, it is a beautiful palette. I would say the mattes are the standout in this one for sure. Again, with the melt, you never know what you're going to get with the shimmer formula. And they are a little inconsistent. Like this one here is chunky but shiny. Chunky but shiny. And then you got this one that's like a little bit hard pressed. Not as pigmented. This one up here, not too terrible, but also not like the best shadow I've ever tried. So anyway, I really love the mattes in here. Those are the standout. And the packaging is beautiful, so I don't regret having it. It's just, I just wish there was a little more consistency with the melt formula. Next up is the Glam Light and Michaela palette. This is one that was extremely hyped up because it's Michaela from TikTok. You know, everybody knows Michaela. And was really excited for her to be having this collab with Glamlight. So I kind of fell into that trap. You know, I was excited to have it and try it. And I will say that I really, really love the shimmers in here. The mattes are great too. They're not terrible. But the shimmers are the standout for me in this palette. So that's that. Speaking about shimmer formulas from Menagerie Cosmetics, this is their collab with Annette. I'm starting to get to the point where I can't talk because I'm really, really tired. This is their collab with Annette's Makeup Corner. It's called the Serenity Palette. So this is one that I actually did a dedicated review on, and then I never posted it because I'm a clown. I don't know what it was about this specific like try on when I did this video, but I just wasn't 100% thrilled with the eye looks that I created with it, so I never posted the video. But it was no fault of this palette or this formula. This formula is very good. Again, specifically the shimmers are where this palette shines. I don't hate the mattes either, but this is something like Circo Loco. I have a hard time coming up with cohesive eye looks with a color story like this, just like with Natasha Denona Circo Loco. There's a lot of color in here, and I think it's really beautiful. I'm just not so creative with color where I feel comfortable coming up with different cohesive looks with this because I struggle. Okay, now we're going to get into my top 10. Y'all are not even going to believe. I don't think you're going to believe what's in my top 10. Or maybe you will. Maybe you guys know me better than I think you know me. Let's see. Motherfucker. All right, let's kick it off with number 10. This is the Club Nebula by Kaleidos, and this was their collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist. I think it's a really beautiful, unique palette. It's a color story that I wouldn't have created on my own. I, again, don't have that eye for color like somebody like her or Annette has. But I think it's a really beautiful color story and it works. I've created quite a few looks with this. I've loved all of the looks that I've created. But yeah, the shimmers in here are really shifty and sparkly and beautiful. They transform the matte shadows. The mattes are blendable. They go well together. It's got a lot of depth, which I really love. So I think she did a fantastic job with this palette, and I definitely love this palette. Coming in at number 9 is the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral Palette. And I don't know what it is about this color story, but the grays and the pinks and the coral, I think the colors just work so well together. I would love to see Natasha Denona do a color story like this. I would be all over that. But it's something about this color story. It just works. I love these shades together. There's a lot of depth in here. The quality is amazing. It's Juvia's Place. That's number 9. Coming in at number 8. This is going to be 2 palettes. They're from the same brand. I bought them at the same exact time, so I'm including them together because I love them about the same. From Glam Shop, I have the Heathland and the Camo palettes. And I'll be completely honest with you, the standouts in these palettes are their shimmers, their special shades. This one specifically has this gorgeous purple holographic shade in the middle. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you to see it on camera. It's starting to get a little bit... No, it's still beautiful. Like, let me try to swatch it. Do you all see the holographic goodness? It is so freaking beautiful. One of the shades literally just popped out into my lap. That's nice. Oh, it's one of those like... Oh, I think I just ruined my pants. It's one of those matte shadows that's got the sparklies in it. Those aren't my favorite anyway. Like, look at this. Shit. I do have like one of those little eyeshadow presses. So I attempted to press it back in there. I don't know how well it's going to hold. But there it is. That's the one I just had to press back in. Anyhow, I really love this for the shimmer shades. There's several in here that are really beautiful. But the one that stands out is the middle holographic shade. It's just next level stunning. And I can still make the other shadows work too, but that's definitely the standout of the entire palette. The Camo palette has several shadows like that that are just like so freaking beautiful. Obviously, this one up here in the corner, you got this really beautiful chunky multi-dimensional shade here, and then this one here is also like a chunky multi-dimensional shade. It's like they're marble shadows, I think they call them. Super chunky, but I'm telling you, they are so stunning and so special. They're not glitter, but they almost look like they are. Like, look how freaking beautiful those are. I can't help but love these palettes because of those shades, and that's why I love them so much. I mean, I've got shadows all over my pants. Okay, coming in at number 7 is the Butte Bean and Shroud It's Freaking Bats palette. I mean, this color story is one that I knew when I saw it I was going to love it, but I wasn't really sure, like, in practice how I was going to like it. Like, was I going to like it when I was actually using it? But it is such a beautiful palette. I love the color combination. Even if I'm not using them all in tandem with each other, I can use them separately. I just really love this color story. And I think that, well, she goes by Batty Bean now, but Betty Jean, she did a really good job with this palette. I love the colors in it. I was a little pissed off at the wait time. I think a lot of people were. It's the only palette that I bought from Shroud. It'll probably be the last just because of the whole fiasco. But I really love this one, and I definitely had to include it in my ranking because, again, I really love it. Coming in at number 6, I have 3 palettes, which that may be like cheating. You may consider that cheating. However, they're all the same types of palettes, if that makes sense. And I really didn't know how else to rank these just because you'll see. So I have in front of me the Ninhydrin from Adept, the Plain Jane from Adept, and I also have the Break the Rules palette from It's Belle Cosmetics. The reason why I'm including these all for number 6 is because they're all the same type of like whoa. That was almost bad. They're all the same type of like sparkly, shimmery eyeshadows. Like, look how beautiful this is. These are really good topper shades. If you have like a really nice matte shadow that you want to blend all over your lid and top it with one of these, oh, gorgeous, beautiful. You can use these as inner corner shades, but these are really similar to like these. Not in color necessarily, but the way they work. They're very sheer, very toppery type of shades. Well, most of them are anyway. But that's why I included them all for number 6. It's this type of shadow. The one that's a little bit different is the Ninhydrin because it's got several shadows in here that are more opaque, like ACI 21 and ACI 23. Plus this has a couple of mattes in it, but overall, the same concept in these palettes. Very shimmery, sparkly, toppery type of shades. They're beautiful. I love having them in my collection. I love using them to transform a look. That's why they're ranking in number 6 spot. Okay, we're down to the top 5. Over the past year, I've realized, look, I really love my colorful palettes so very much. I love playing with color, sparkly, beautiful, loud. I love all of those types of eye looks. But over the past year, especially over the past like 3 months, I've really been enjoying the more neutral type of eyeshadows, the more neutral eye looks. I don't know what it is. I don't know who the hell I think I am. But that's just been kind of my jam here lately. So the top 5 are very indicative of that, okay? Coming in at number 5 is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette number 5. Coincidence. They really knocked it out of the park with this one. The color story goes really well with itself. You don't have those random oddball shades in here like you do with the other palettes. Like the other ones, there was like a mustard and a bright orange and a bright blue. Like it was just very, very random. This one just makes sense. When you look at it, it's easy to see eye looks in here, or at least for me. And that says a lot because, like I said, it's not easy for me. Right now, I'm wearing D3 in the outer corner. That's that really deep shade, that deep purple in the outer corner. It's this really gorgeous, dark, sparkly shimmer shade, and it is freaking stunning. But the shimmer shades in this palette are so much better than the shimmer shades in the other Norvina palettes. I don't know what they did differently, but they did. This palette is amazing. And then this shade up here is what I use to marry the light and dark shades in my matte transition area. So anyway, I love this palette. I've used it a lot. That's why it's ranking number 5. It's stunning. Coming in at number 4 is the Natasha Denona Retro palette. Again, a more neutrally type of palette. It's got all these beautiful mauvey, burgundy, just, it's so yummy. This is such a beautiful palette. I've used it a lot. I love the way the shades work with each other. The only, and I won't call this a complaint, but the only kind of drawback for me is that the shimmer shades are just a little bit lackluster. I don't know, the most exciting that we have are Glitz and Psychedelic, and they're just not anything over the top, you know what I mean? But I don't think that this palette was meant to be over the top. That's what this is supposed to be. Natasha Denona is not Tara Moons, and I have to keep reminding myself of that. So I find myself comparing shimmer shades to my sparkly, shiny, shifty indie shades, and they're just not that. So when I keep that in mind, this is an incredible palette. This was incredible even without the shimmer shades. The mattes in here, they just play beautifully with each other. I love the tones. I love them on my green eyes. I do have a dedicated video to this palette as well, so if you want to check that out, maybe come up with some inspo how to use it, or whatever, maybe you just want my full thoughts and opinions, check it out. I love this palette. Coming in at number 3 is the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz. Now, I saw so many of my fellow friends here on YouTube raving about this palette, and I kept thinking, like, why the hell do they like this thing so much? Like, before I bought it, I don't understand, I don't see the hype. I don't see the hype. It's just a mauvey neutral color story, like, I just don't get it. Well, I bought it because I bought into the hype, and I get it now. I don't know what it is about this palette. It's beautiful. It's got some really nice shimmer shades in here. It's got some duochromes. They're just stunning, and they all work so well with each other. I have no issues with the formulations in here. I like the fact that it has several different types of shimmers in here. Like, it has your regular satin, and then it's got these really beautiful shifty duochromes, and then it's got this really stunning, like, bright, blinding, whatever shade this is. I just like the variation in here. The mattes are just very creamy. They work well together. They blend beautifully. I love it. It's such a great neutral palette. So that's why it's ranking number 3. I can't believe we're down to the top 2. You're probably gonna laugh, okay? I never thought in a million years that this next palette would be ranking anywhere near my top 2 palettes. I thought that because I'd heard other people raving about it, I just want to try it. I want to hear what the hype is. If I like it, awesome. If not, hey, I tried it, whatever. This is the Dominique Cosmetics Transition Palette. I don't even know what to say. Like, this is the most basic palette that I probably have ever owned. But it's just something about the way these shadows work with each other. Not to mention the quality of these shadows is next level, is fantastic. I've used this so much recently. I would say over the past month, because I got it right around Black Friday. Over the past month, I've used this probably 3 out of 5 work days every week that I've worn eyeshadow. It's just so easy to build a transition with this palette and then use a sparkly shimmery shade on top or something else on top to kind of complete the look. This is not a standalone palette for me. Obviously, it's all mattes. You all know I like my shimmer shades. But using this as like my base, my transition, I love this palette. And I'm so glad that I bought it. I really didn't think that I was going to fall in love with it like I have. I thought that other people were just blowing smoke. Honestly, I don't know what I thought, but I love it. That's ranked number 2. It's such a good palette for transition. Not to mention, you can also use this for like blush. You can use it for contour. I haven't used it for those reasons, but you could. Just saying. Number 1, if you all have heard me talk about this palette, this is not going to come as a surprise to you. But if you haven't heard me talk about it, you're probably going to be a little shocked. Ranking number 1 for the entire year of 2021 is the Vanity Makeup The Signature Palette. Have you all seen this palette? First of all, again, it is a very neutral palette. When you look at it, it really doesn't look like it would be something too special, but it is. It really is. First and foremost, the formula of the shadows in this palette are just chef's kiss. So good. I've never created a bad eye look with this. so far that I've used it, and I've used it a lot. Out of the palettes that I own, this is one of my most used palettes, which is really saying something considering I have over 200 eyeshadow palettes. I use this all the time to work, just if I'm going out somewhere. I really love the fact that you can glam it up with these beautiful sparkly shades. You can keep it real neutral. There's so many different types of tones and eye looks that you can make with this that you really wouldn't even think. Like, you can keep it super sultry and dark with the grays, or the cream and the gray. You can go orange with it. You can go brown and neutral with it. Like, there is so much you can do with this palette. I don't know y'all. Like, who am I? I honestly never thought this would be the #1 palette of 2021. If you would have told me that at the beginning of the year, I'd have told you were crazy. This is a fantastic eyeshadow palette. So that's going to wrap up all of the palettes that I purchased in 2021. I hope you all found the ranking interesting. For this ranking, I really wanted to be a little bit more specific. Like last year's ranking, there was palettes I'd only used a couple times and they still got ranked. I really tried not to do that in this year's, just because how much can you really get to know a palette when you've only used it a couple times? I really wanted to try to pick palettes in the top 10 that I had used a lot. Ones that I know for a fact that I really love and know and have really gotten to know the formula. Like, I want to give you all solid opinions. So that's what I've done in this video. I've shared all of my thoughts and opinions with you, ranked my top 10, shared with you all of the palettes I purchased this year. I hope that was fun for you all to watch. If it was, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Not only does that let me know that you like my ranking videos or you like watching what's in my collection, but it lets YouTube know that you like this type of content from me. It'll let other people find this video and make their way over to this community. When you all do that, I'm super grateful. You know, I really love what we've built here. We have an incredible community, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. So thank you all in advance when you do like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. I'm very grateful. If you've made it this far and you're not already subscribed, I hope you consider doing that. If you do, tap the notification bell so you don't miss future uploads. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.